Hey everybody, today in this video, we're going to be doing a live interview with the student who just passed their Civil FE exam. And so I'm so proud of this student. I've been working with them for the past 3 months. And so they have some things that they would like to share about their experience. They worked their tail off, they put in the work, they made some sacrifices, and there were some things and takeaways that they have that I want you to be able to hear so that you can pass your Civil FE exam too. So without further ado, let's dive right in. I'm really thankful that you took some time out of your day to for us to meet. Um, I think with this session or this time, I think it'll really help some of the students who are currently studying for their FE to kind of hear and receive some of your gems and kind of things that you took away from studying, being that you just passed. So I think that's super exciting. I think it could be really helpful for other students. So I wanted to kind of ask you some questions to kind of uh, have them learn more about you and go from there. So my first
Okay.
question really my first question is what do you enjoy doing outside of engineering and like FE and civil stuff? What do you enjoy doing outside of that?
I'm a big reader, so I read a lot,
Hmm.
and I listen to a lot of audiobooks. I like the gym a lot, and movies, suspense movies, thriller movies,
Okay.
things
Okay.
like that. So,
Very nice. Very nice. What's one of the because I do a lot of reading, as you can see, kind of in my background. What's one of
right.
your favorite books?
Right now, I'm actually like in a book right now, but it's
Did I disturb you
yeah,
from reading?
no, it's fine. Uh, uh, So there's this author named Tomi Adeyemi, and
Hmm.
she has a series called Children of Blood and Bone, Children of Virtue and Vengeance, and she
Hmm.
just came out with a book called Children of Anguish and Anarchy. So it's kind of like it's like a sci-fi like like powers and stuff like that. It's really good though.
Okay. So
So that's what I'm in right now.
like a supernatural
Yeah,
type deal.
I have right. I have to balance out because I like the um self-help, like work on yourself type of books too. But I
Hmm.
try not to have everything I read just kind of like personal growth. So I have to have some breaks in between. So
All right.
that's what I'm that's what I got going on.
Okay, awesome. So you got some supernatural stuff going. I asked you that question because that kind of um sometimes when you're like if you're reading and doing things that you enjoy, like as you've been studying for your FE, like I know that sometimes some of that stuff gets put on the back burner. So I was wondering, as you've been studying over the last couple of months, like, did you have to make any sacrifices when it came to like reading or gym time or anything like that?
Absolutely. I've definitely had to make sacrifices. I think one of the other things that I didn't mention that I really enjoy
Hmm.
is concerts. I like concerts.
Okay.
And even though I told my friends that I wouldn't be available during this time,
Hmm.
I kept getting like invites to concerts and stuff like that, which was very hard for me to be like, no, I
To
just
say
can't.
no. I
Yeah, but with the reading thing, huh?
I was gonna say
Yeah, with the
concerts.
reading.
I'm not a big concert person, but I understand like when people are reaching out saying, "Hey, let's do this. Let's go here." Like that can be that can be pretty frustrating to have to tell them no. You feel like you're letting them down.
Yeah, it's
Awesome.
really for me.
Oh, the concerts.
It's really for me.
You said the concerts are
Yeah,
for you.
because yeah, But it's like I really enjoy that space, but I feel like with them they'll be okay. And I'm happy that I put that stuff in the back burner for this. So
Well,
yeah.
well, now that you have, I think I texted or messaged you once you said that you had passed, but I want to say now, congratulations. Like I'm so excited that
Thank
you passed and you passed on your first try. So, that's super exciting. I would give you a hard time and be like, I want to see it on the NCEES thing, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna stress you out like that.
You don't believe me?
No, I believe you. Trust me. Trust me. I definitely believe you. I like to give you a hard time. Okay. So walk
Yeah.
walk us through like your study process as far as like when we first met and kind of started talking about things, or you had already kind of started looking at FE material and was getting kind of ready and beginning to prep for this test. Walk me through kind of what you did in the beginning and then leading up into the test. Like what were some of the things that you kind of learned? What were some of the study habits that you built? I want all the gems in this. So this is literally for people listening. So um I want to know like what were some of the
Yeah.
things that you did?
Yeah. Okay. So I think prior I had like my own little schedule, but I wasn't really focused on it when I just been studying for myself. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't really have like a timeline in mind. It wasn't very structured. And so I think that that shift and more structured and planned and things like that, I think that really helped in terms of just kind of setting this time aside and really buckling down. Um, but even still, I think my study habit shifted in after getting my first practice test in and seeing seeing, seeing the reality of things, seeing about the amount of time that you need to be focused uh and get because when you're in practice that time aspect isn't as real as when it literally is like, okay, you have a clock right now and you have to get this amount of problems completed in this time. And then just the level of difficulty in the problems. After seeing that and getting that reality check, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm going to the library. And I feel that I would have been a lot more comfortable or confident if I had started going to the library from the beginning, where I kind of
Mm-hmm.
had that quiet space by myself. And the thing about it is the time goes by so fast when you're in a quiet place. It doesn't feel like it's dragging on. It feels like, okay, yes, I'm gonna focus these 3 hours and get this done. And you kind of build up that stamina.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I definitely I felt like having a consistent place to study,
Mm-hmm.
having a consistent time to study, but also not drowning myself to the point where it's like I'll burn out.
Yeah.
So a safe amount of time that's realistic for me that does allow me to do other things, like get my get my work done at work and setting up those your schedule to work in your benefit that that really made the difference, I think. So
So what you mentioned that from a time perspective, like not burning yourself out. What was, because I know I was like, hey, you probably need about an hour to an hour and a half per day of studying. But I know like what was your happy medium as far as like what at what point did you reach burnout?
When I reached burnout, it was the day before the exam. I didn't feel burnt out until
hmm
that day. Um,
How much did you study?
so
That's what I'm saying. How much did you study the
that
day
day,
before? Yeah.
those 2 days, yeah, it was just getting up, going straight to the library at 9, leaving the library at 6, really treating it like a long work
A
day,
full work day, yeah.
packing my lunch, not leaving really. So it was just
hmm
like at it. And I felt when I left that day, because we actually talked that we were supposed to have a meeting that night. And
hmm
I was just like, James, I studied. I'm sure it'll be okay. Because I was like exhausted. And I knew I would start to dream about equations. I was dreaming about
Oh my
equations. I was
gosh.
triangles. But
Yeah,
but
you was
yeah. But,
it
but it was
I,
it was gradual. The first earlier part, I wasn't studying as many hours. Towards
okay.
the end, it started to be like 2, 3, and then to the 8 hours those last few days. So
Okay.
yeah.
So what I'm hearing is from the beginning, you kind of worked your way up as far as building stamina. And once you got your first practice test, that's when like first real practice test, that's when you were like, okay, I see how like crazy this can get. Let me lock in. Is that what you would you say that's what happened? Okay.
Right.
So
Right.
that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Mhm.
And I think some all people are different, right? Because some people work under pressure and they're able to like some people are able to, take a little bit of time here and just kind of study over a gradual 3 months. And then, they just have retained everything and kind of smoothly transition. Some people need a kind of some sort of wake up or some sort of extra push, or some people work better under being under crunch time. So like some people will work like sounds like for you, you were able to like really lock in the last maybe week or so. Not saying that you didn't, because we met, you know, you would study, but you really seem to focus like that last 2 weeks. And I think that's awesome. And I think for some people, if you're really dedicated to passing, then you will do what you feel like it takes. And so kind of what I've noticed is students like the ones who take initiative, right? Sometimes it's not about not knowing what's going to be on the test because you have all the material, roughly what's going to be on the test, but at the end of the day, are
Mhm.
you going above and beyond? Because I'm kind of like you. I didn't, I was studying like gradually. Once I took that test, let me tell you something. I was tripping out. Like I then like locked in. I was like, all right, this is something serious. So I was very similar to your case. So I know people want to know, okay, so we got to test day. You're dreaming now, you're dreaming about problems. So you've worked so hard that you're dreaming about problems. What happened
Right.
on actual test day? Like, I want to know what you saw on the test. Like, not problem by problem, but like, was it mostly conceptual? Were there periods where you got really nervous? Like, walk me through that, that, how that went, how test day went.
Well, I say 70% of the material was stuff that was like practical, know how to do the problems, know how to find the information,
Mm-hmm.
and that stuff that I already pretty much knew. 20, maybe 15% was like
Mm-hmm.
conceptual, but it wasn't, some of the concept was very easy to figure out, but I realized the difference between when I was taking the practice exams, I felt like I flagged a lot more than when I was in the actual test. I felt that I had a good idea of the majority of the stuff on the test, you know?
Okay.
So as far as practical problems and theoretical problems or concept problems, I felt pretty good about most of it. There was like 5% that was just like educated guesses. Like I really like
Probably this,
I
but
was thinking about I was like, you know,
oh goodness.
but also there were some problems, not a whole lot, but of course they stuck out to me were just like prior knowledge that I just hadn't covered, like the size of a wood, like a 2x4 or something like that when it's dressed, when it's three different types of ways. What are those actual dimensions? I didn't know that. I hadn't come across a problem like that prior.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like maybe someone that had civil background would know for sure, you know,
Yep.
but because I was coming from a different like I majored in biosystems engineering. So I didn't really have that construction type of background. I didn't hadn't done concrete and beams and things like that. So yeah, but the practical problems, the problems that were actual work through and formulas and stuff like that, they weren't difficult. They weren't the most complicated problems. The trust problem wasn't a complicated version. It was, you know what I mean? It didn't feel like it was the most complicated version. But
So they didn't OD. They
and
didn't go crazy.
no, they did not.
Okay.
I There was not a single problem that came up and I was just like, what in the world is this? I didn't have a
Good.
problem that was like
Good.
that. But when my friend asked me about the test, I did say that I felt like I was in a boxing ring and I was getting some punches in and they was getting some punches in. And so I wasn't really sure. I wasn't sure where it would land, but yeah, I felt pretty prepared for what I saw.
Good. Good. So I guess from a standpoint of practice problems, from tutoring, from your own, I know you had a review, some review material. What would you say like really helped, I guess, with allowing you to feel prepared? Like what were some of the things that you felt really prepared you for this test?
I'd say practice problems for sure. Um, Being familiar with where concepts are in the handbook. Um, I'd say, you know, going through the videos, on your platform, on your resources, and doing those practice problems, and also going through some YouTube videos, doing practice problems on there because it's just kind of like it's the same concept, but kind of the problems vary, and
Mm-hmm.
then really understanding what you're doing and why you're doing it um instead of just hoping to plug and chug
Mm-hmm.
and maybe you don't really understand what is asking, because that was something that I ran into a lot earlier when I was studying with you. It's just like I would do a lot of stuff, and then it's like, well, I didn't really get a good understanding of what the question was, and so we're
Yes.
like, now Fure, what were they asking for? And I'm like, oh well, I guess So really doing that, read the problem. Can you solve it yourself? Do you need to look somewhere in the book for this information? You know what I'm saying? So that
Mm.
process was very, very helpful when it came to test day. So it's kind of like, okay, go through my steps. If this doesn't work, if I can't figure this out, I'm going to flag this. It's not going to take away from my time with other stuff. So yeah.
Good, good. Oh, from a time perspective, and you bring up some good stuff. From a time perspective, how did you feel on time? Like, did you stick to the 3 minutes, or was it 3 to 5, or how did you go about it?
I didn't I didn't pay much attention. I definitely would like once I got to like halfway is like 50, 55 questions. So when I got to like 10 questions, I would look to see what I was looking like on time
Hmm.
and kind of do some quick math to figure out how much time, if I'm going at a good pace or if I need to pick it up. And I felt okay. So I felt a little more stressed the first half about it, but I did walk away with some time left. And then second half, I felt like I had a lot of extra time.
Okay.
So thankfully, I had extra time because when I went back and reviewed the questions, there was one question that I was like, oops, I did not read that right. And I had to change my answer. So I was so thankful that I had that extra time to do that.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, I was like, wow, it is
Yeah.
important to go back and check.
I'm glad you had extra time. There's a student who would have loved to have talked with you prior to them taking the test. They're currently they took their test today. How, and this person mentioned,
Oh,
what'd you say?
I'm still very slow. I'm still lagging crazy,
Oh,
huh?
yes, you're lagging a little bit. But yeah, there was a person that took their test and they mentioned to me, and it just kind of opened my eyes. How was the kind of the testing setup? Like, did they allow you to use pen and paper? Or was it like a marker, and like how did you um as far as jotting down and doing math on like paper, were you able to, did they give you paper, or how was that kind of set up?
Yeah. No, they gave us the spiraled eraser sheets. So it was like 5 sheets in a booklet, and it was a little marker pen, but it wasn't an easily erasable marker pen. So it
Mm,
was like you can't erase it and do something else. It's like you have to use a different part, which is fine. I did run into some issues with the markers. I felt like they didn't have enough ink or whatever, they were dried out. But it was more than enough. They gave us like 3 pens and 2 booklets. So I have more than enough space to work through my problems. But it felt like a very top secret situation. Like they were serious. And I foolishly wore pants with like pockets all down the sides. So
they
every
checked every one of
time
them.
it was like check, turn around, fill up it, like they were serious. They were serious.
Goodness.
So yeah, but it was it was it was nice. I thought, I mean, they took it very seriously, but it was
So
no
no food.
cheating.
Yeah, no. Okay, so they checked you. No food or drink was allowed, right? Or did they
Not
allow a drink?
inside. It was
Okay.
like lockers. No, they had lock. No, they had lockers outside the testing room
Okay.
that you could go to during your time breaks. But no lockers. I mean, no food or drink inside. Like they were
Perfect.
looking in
Perfect.
hoods and everything. They were not
Yeah.
interested in you having any extra materials with you.
Yeah,
So,
and for some people that's kind of scary. Like some people feel like they need water for that period of time, or they may need some extra accommodation. So I want people to kind of know what the testing environment is like, and I think it's helpful for you to share that. Um, so thank you for sharing that. And then the I'm not gonna keep hassling you with questions because I know you're probably just
I'm
ready to
honestly
relax
okay.
to celebrate.
I'm
Okay.
honestly okay. Whatever you need to ask me, you can ask me.
Okay.
So,
I think this
mhm.
Zoom is gonna end. It may end. So if it ends abruptly, I may ask you to hop back on. But if not,
Okay.
we'll be able to finish out. So last few questions. What and I know you've given some tips already, but what advice would you give to um what advice would you give, or what kind of last thoughts would you give to students who are studying now, um, in order for them to pass? And you're on mute. So,
That's important.
yeah, I want them to hear this.
Okay. I changed my phone screen, and I remember mentioning that to you. I changed my phone screen to what it would look like to get the notification that you passed the exam. So I put that picture as my background, and it just kind of helped me. So every time I open my phone, I'm like, okay. It just kept it in the forefront of my mind, even if it wasn't like, okay, now I need to study right now. It wasn't like that, but it was like, this is what you're trying to do. If you can find the time to do that, this is the biggest goal for you right now. So act like it. And that helped. And it also was kind of like a manifestation thing.
Hmm.
Um, but I'd say try not to beat yourself up like in ways of like not eating healthy, you're going long times, you're going through long extended periods of studying potentially. And so you need to eat foods that are going to be good for you. You're going to need to stay hydrated. Um, Also, try to, whatever time your test is going to be, try to use that time, like that time slot. So, for example, I took my exam from 8 to 2 or whatever. So I made sure that I studied those last few days, at least from 8 to 2, so I can get an idea of working for that a period of time with little to no breaks. I thought that was helpful to me. Um, yeah, practice problems, see the way that you do it. Maybe you know how to do it and you can get the problem done, but figuring out a better way, maybe a faster way to get the problem done um accurately. Because there's all these other resources. There's the way that James does the problem potentially, or another person, how they do the problem, how they go through it. And maybe that way will stick with you better, and work on that so that you can knock those out. You know for a fact you knock those out and good, and you cut down on the time needed for that problem so you can allocate it to a different problem.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mentioned before, like setting a time, sticking to it, and maybe even setting up like if you know that this is the period of time, if these are the months that you're going to study, you know that there may be a weekend, a long weekend or something in there where you're going to have activities. Try to get them around the same time so you can have those long extended times of really putting in work for some weeks,
Yeah.
and letting
Yeah.
the people around you know. I don't have a good example of that because my friends, still kind of dropped the ball with inviting me to stuff. But I did let everyone around me know that this is what I'm trying to do so that they can offer their support in different ways, whether that be kind text messages, encouraging messages, or things like that. Because I didn't think I got any messages before my exam, but when I got out of my exam and I turned my phone on, I saw messages from different people in my life encouraging me and things like that. And that was really nice. And also you, oh my God, you were very helpful and thoughtful in messaging me or being available to me. I know it was really early that morning, but you were there and you were like, okay, yeah, you got this and stuff like that. And that was really, really uh motivating and helpful. So it's not the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever happens, it's not the end of the world. Uh Now looking back, I'm like, okay. At the time it felt like it was. And I think just respect the exam because you can't really take it too lightly because you'll fail. You have to you have to treat it like you actually have to work for it. So
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying be fearful, but recognize that you do, especially if you're removed from school. If you haven't been in school for some years, you are going to need to dedicate time to make this work. So, yeah.
Yeah, those are some good takeaways. Yeah, that test is no joke, and I told myself once at a certain point, I remove myself from the result, and you may not agree with this, but whether you had passed or you had failed, I'm looking at this and I'm like, hey, what could I have done better to have helped you pass? Or still, if you pass, what could I have done better to make your experience better? So you could even see like from the time that we started up until like the end of your time, there were more documents, there were more practice problems. It was more available to you so
Yeah.
that you could be able to hopefully your the circumstances that you were in, the previous students, they didn't have access to all of those resources. So hopefully it gets better student by student. So now I want to know, like, okay, you passed your FE, right? What is next for you? If you don't mind sharing, like, what's next on your agenda?
Well, I don't know if you recall when we first met, but just kind of my motivation for doing my or passing my FE exam was because I'm trying to relocate. I want to be able to have that on my resume to, uh, just make me a look like a good candidate because
Hmm.
I am interested in getting my PE exam soon. I mean, getting my PE soon. So right now I'm planning my wedding with my fiance. That's
Very
coming up in
nice.
a few months. I'm doing my resumes. I'm able to look at jobs and see that they offer positions or EIT preferred. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's me. And so feeling good, applying for jobs and hopefully relocating. And then I'm planning on hitting the ground running to study for my PE exam. I don't know if you remember, but I was messaging you already, and everyone around me who is either studying or has recently gotten their PE. What did
Yep.
you take? How'd you do it? What were your resources? Because
Yep.
I'm already kind of in grind mode. So I'm
Hmm.
like, okay, we're gonna make it happen. I definitely plan on by this time next year having that under my belt. So that's what's going
Absolutely.
on.
Absolutely. Well,
But
that's
but I will say, and this is important, and this is something that's important to me, is if I was not happy with my results in the test, I probably would have allowed it to upset me for a while. And I think it is important for me to sit in this moment and celebrate it and celebrate this accomplishment and this achievement for the same amount of time as I would probably sulk about it if I wasn't happy with it. So just being happy and appreciative of now instead of always looking to what's next,
what's next.
because this is a big deal.
It
So
is.
yeah.
It is. That's awesome and exciting. Have you decided what are you gonna go to a concert for to celebrate? Have you decided what you're gonna do to celebrate?
But I've already bought myself some things. I do have a concert coming next weekend.
Okay.
So yeah,
Very
yeah.
nice.
That's
Very nice.
definitely on the list thing. Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
And you see
Awesome.
I'm
That's
reading my book. So
yes. You're able to you got some time to celebrate, to enjoy this moment or these series of moments and it's really exciting. Similar to like what you said people like as soon as they pass, they're like, okay, let me think about who I need to talk to for the PE. Do you offer a PE course? I'm like, no, no, I do not. I do not want. I do not want to. Like, I'm studying for it. So, do you know which one you're gonna? Do you know which uh topic you're gonna do?
I think I'm doing the same as you. I think the environmental or water resources.
Okay.
Water resources.
Yes. Yep. The
Yeah.
hydrology and water resources. Well, if you
Hydro.
find if you have some resources, shoot 'em my way. I'll shoot what I
Of
have your way,
course.
and
Absolutely.
we will hopefully study and
Ab-
go ahead and pass this thing. So I really appreciate you for your time, and I'm looking forward to you getting your PE and all of the good things that you will be doing. So
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your help with this.
absolutely, absolutely.